Hello, my friends. So we're going to talk about the astrology for the first week of August 2021. And I've taken a little bit of time off this week because I'm working on other videos for another series called Hidden Heroes, and I am excited to get that out. It's about people that you would never know who might live right under your nose, right in your neighborhood. You might see them every day and not know that they do or have done these amazing selfless things for the world or for the animals or for people, the environment. They're just the unsung heroes kind of thing. So I'm trying to get that together, but I wanted to talk about what is happening with the astrology right now, because this is another big piece of the puzzle that has fallen in this week, and also the new moon coming up in Leo on Sunday, the 8th of August. So right now it's the middle of the week, but I just want to backtrack a little bit and talk about what has happened at the beginning of this week, what this means, and what is occurring throughout this week that's leading to this new moon. And then at the end, I'm going to talk about what it means for each sign. So your rising sign, your sun, or your moon, whatever you want to listen for. I'm going to talk about what it means for every sign, especially this new moon on the 8th. So basically, what I've been talking about for months, and what we will all astrologers will continue talking about for this year into next year, is the Saturn-Uranus square. So that means this planet Saturn, which kind of encompasses blockages, roadblocks, taskmaster-ish things. It's a mastery, achievement, but it's also slow, arduous work, or just red tape sometimes. It's just things that are holding you back, or things that might be bringing you feeling down or heavy in some way. And then he's kind of in an uncomfortable angle with the planet Uranus, and Uranus is like, you know what, I'm going to turn this table upside down. We're going to change everything right now. I'm going to run out and just do what I want to do now, like freedom, liberation, a sudden release of just a change of direction, or a lightning bolt strike. It's just a quick, sudden, and liberating. So those two energies obviously are kind of at odds, and it's not like, hey, we work hand in hand perfectly. It's no, one is like the wall, and the other is like, I'm going to, dismantle the wall. So that is happening in everyone's everyone's chart. Is occurring in a certain place in your chart, and I'm going to get into that at the end when I talk about everyone's certain placements, and I'll put in timestamps. But just suffice to say, this is like the energy that's surrounding all of us this year into next year, and it's really running the show. There's other things happening off to the side, this and that, sure, but when we are in a month, especially, that is a lot of fixed sign energy, so Leo, fixed sign, and we just had the full moon in Aquarius, fixed sign. Another full moon in Aquarius is actually coming up again at the end of the month, or right at the beginning of the next month. Aquarius again. That's going to be probably a lot better feeling, because it will be with Jupiter, which will be like a helpful hand, instead of the last one we had, which was with Saturn, which is like, the wall, the red tape. Anyways, all of these instances are fixed signs. So we're kind of in like another big upheaval of space right now. In August, and then it will die down. Things will all start moving through Virgo, then through Libra, and we're going to have other things happening, but it won't be exactly locking horns with that Saturn-Uranus square. It's kind of just going to be like off to the side until we get to the Scorpio season, when and that will be the end of October, and then into November, when we're really going to have like this final, maybe not final, but another showdown. We don't have to talk about that at this point. We're just going to talk about this. And it's not that bad. It's just the fixed energy, especially fixed signs, Leo, Aquarius, Scorpio, and Taurus, are probably feeling more upheaval or more personal shifting happening in your life. More like, yeah, my job, or yeah, my spouse, compared to someone else who might be like, yeah, I'm having these ideas about my belief system. It's still important, but it's not like the tent poles of life, you know, like who you are, your identity, your job, your spouse. Okay, so that is the main overview, the Saturn Uranus thing that we've been dealing with, the wall and the urge to blow up the wall and just say, you know, forget this, I'm doing this now. When we are, okay, so what has just happened this week? This past week, we started off, I think Sunday, Monday, we had this Mercury Cazimi, the sun. What does that mean? That means that the planet Mercury of communications, thoughts, thinking, writing, marketplaces, it's a very quick moving planet, and it has come to a place of being in the exact same place with the sun. And that's interesting because it just had that happen, if you remember, back in June, on June 10th, when we had Mercury Cazimi, the sun. There, it's like the sun is kind of holding it in its lap. It's like the sun is the king, and he's invited Mercury to sit right next to him on the stage, like on the throne next to him. It's a very, like, ensconcing this planet with its light, with its energy. And that already did happen, but it happened in the sign of Gemini, and on the eclipse, the solar eclipse, the new moon solar eclipse on June 10th. And if you want to think back to that time, you might kind of remember things that are like, you know, things that were happening or things that were brewing. Sorry, someone is just like calling me, and it's no one. Things that were happening or things that were brewing then that could have started something up as like a new moon kind of feel. Like, I'm going to begin this. I'm going to start this small business, or I'm thinking about starting this relationship, or I met this person then, or that's weird, I had this really big conversation that turned into this opportunity. Then something might or dreams always, like, that's the first, our first information, more than this waking world, because this waking world, we have to tear through so much to get down to the core of something real, because we're like, oh, I have to deal with my car insurance and this, and I forgot to call that person back. We get lost in the day-to-day mundane things, and we forget that we are swimming in the magic and the spiritual and the whatever you want to call it, all the time. In the dream realm, it's just like a straight shot where it's like, hey, you're on this thing, and you know, it's showing you exactly what there's no cutting through mundane stuff. The dream is just like, this is your problem, or like, this is what you're dealing with, and I'm going to package it for you like a little movie. Okay, so anything that happened around that time, June 10th, June 11th, somewhere around then, that was that solar new moon eclipse, and it happened to have that Mercury Cazimi, where Mercury is getting all of this infused energy from the sun, and it's kind of like a new moon for Mercury. It's like the beginning of a new idea, the beginning of new thought processes, thinking of ways of doing things or embarking on something. I know that that is very important to me. If I think back to that time, that's a very important time for me. It was also my birthday the next day after, but it doesn't really matter about that. It was just a time where I really took that energy and started, you know, ramping it up. So then fast forward to now, on last Sunday and Monday, so that's August 1st, 2nd, we just had another Mercury Cazimi, where the Mercury, the planet of communication and thinking, comes into sitting right next to the sun. This time it's in Leo, and Leo is the place where the sun is at home in Leo. This is where the sun has all of his power. So this is like the highest king of the land, bringing Mercury onto his stage, sitting next to him on the throne. Okay, so that's one thing to think of. We're having another one of these moments. The idea, though, here is this is a superior conjunction of Mercury and the sun. So that means the one in June on that eclipse was inferior. And that means if this is Earth, this is the Sun. When we had the one in June, Mercury was right here in between Earth and the Sun, and it's closer to us. We have more internal ways of thinking and speaking, and something personal that we're trying to do. Now this conjunction that just happened, the cazimi of Mercury and the Sun, here's the Earth, here's the Sun, and here's Mercury. So he's gone from here all the way around, and he's at the other furthermost reach of on the other side of the Sun. And then he'll continue on making a circle and come back closer to us. None of that really matters for you to understand, but what we are trying to understand here is that the inferior conjunction is something more personal, something more inward that you might want to start off with, or start rolling the ball forward with that energy of, it's like dropping a pendulum, and you drop it and the energy starts going, like, and then when it gets up to that full moon kind of position of like, it's all come to this place, it stops, and then it's going to maybe wane back. That place where Mercury is all the way on the outer side of the Sun right now it's superior. It's almost like that pendulum coming up to the full moon position. It's like a full moon of Mercury, sort of. And what that means is kind of like at that time you might have felt, or still right now, it's just been a few days, the feeling of something coming to a culmination, like the things you started around June 10th, June 11th, now they're kind of coming together. Or now you're starting to see the first inklings of, oh, okay, I got to do way more for that to come together. Or, well, these are the problems that I didn't foresee. And this is the real life kind of... there's other factors involved. It's not just me and my ideas. It's just now this other beast kind of that has kind of taken over or incarnated. It's not just my personal idea or something that I started. And for me, that is exactly what happened. I started something, put some effort into, and energy moving forward during that eclipse, that first cazimi, June 10th, June 11th, and lo and behold, I had no idea this was going to happen, but some series of events started happening where I was meeting people, talking to people, and then things started falling into place for the stuff that I put in motion to actually coalesce into something where I was like, wow, I'm really doing it now. But now I see all these other issues that I didn't even factor in. Not just issues, but more fun too, where you're just seeing, yeah, I started this and now there's this. Okay, so now I'm really in it. It's like planning a trip and then you're in the middle of the trip and you're like, wow, we're really in it now. Like we're in the middle of the river and it's like rushing water or something. It's kind of out of your personal control because the world has taken it and you're like, oh my God. Okay, it's making it real. So that is what just happened Sunday, Monday, that feeling of, the Mercury, whatever it might have started around the middle of June 10th, June 11th, coming to this place of, boy, I see how far I have to go, or I'm really in the middle of the river now and I'm doing all this activity. It's kind of coming to life and it's exciting, but I'm also like maybe a little worried that I might be over my head or something like that. Pay attention just to what is going on, because this whole cycle will continue, and all of these planets have these cycles where they meet up, they separate, they meet again in a different position, and it's all showing us, if you journal, if you write it down, if you make a note, even just going through your emails or things in your phone, things you posted on Instagram or wherever, you can say, oh yeah, that day I was doing this, and that's interesting because now looking at this day, I see the correlation. But it's really great to write it down in some way, like write it on your phone in notes or something. That always helps. So that is what we just kind of went through, and we're saying, okay, great, that is nice. It is nice. We're having this moment. Now Mercury is in the cazimi position, like this great, strong position with the Sun, and it's all in Leo. Okay, but that means we're coming back to those fixed signs that are on angle to that Saturn-Uranus square, that conundrum that I talked about, the wall and how to blow up the wall. So what does that mean? So that means that cazimi moment was nice, but it was also a little marred by the fact that, you've got Saturn sitting there opposing it, and you've got this energy of Uranus saying, push through, break it down. And then now that we have all these other planets moving through those we have more stuff going through Leo now that's kind of repeating the same steps. And I see this entire week leading up to the new moon on Sunday as kind of like when you're singing a round robin, I guess that's what it's called, a round, with people like row, row, row your boat. And it's like the first part is like that, and you're like row, row, row your boat. And then there's like a second group that comes in after you, and they're like a little bit staggered. So it's like row, row. And you're like, wait, we're already on the merrily, merrily. And it's like starting to get, it's cool, it's working, and it all dovetails, and you're like, that's cool, but it's also kind of a lot to deal with, where you're like, oh my God. You know, if you've ever been around a group of kids singing that or something, you're like, dude, it's a lot, but I'm glad you're having a nice time. But like, it's because it's repeating. So we're hitting these same points, and we're like, yeah, we hit that same point, and now you're hitting that same point, but we're here. And now you're hitting the same point, but now we're here. It's like this leapfrog staggered thing. But with Mercury and the Sun, it's your your thoughts and your thinking and your speech and things that you are putting into motion in life. And then the Sun is like your drive. I'm going forward. This is what's happening. This is the storyline. And, you know, this is the... I don't know what needs to, this is what's holding it all together. This is the plot, the theme, the purpose. Okay, so when that is all hitting again and again, because we had Mercury and the Sun together in Leo. Mercury is going through an opposition to Saturn, the wall, up, and then a squaring of Uranus, the feeling of just blowing it all up or just saying, forget it. That is, I mean, should I go through what all of this is? Yes, because that's why you're listening. I mean, Mercury, you're thinking and speaking and communicating against this thing that is like no blockage, sort of depression, sort of heaviness, responsibility. That's not exactly helpful to Mercury. It can be to firm up things and to see what the work is you need to do, but it can stop the flow of speech or communication in some way. And then as Mercury goes on, I think it's Wednesday, you know, Mercury squaring Uranus. So Mercury, thought, speech, communication squaring, having this moment of adjustment, with Uranus saying, just throw it all out the window, start again. You know, this feeling of just wanting to tear your hair out, or having a breakthrough of some type, or a breakdown of some type, where, you know, you could say, I give up, and then have the breakthrough, or you could have a brilliant thing come to you that kind of informs what you've been doing. Okay, that's better. It's not exactly easy, but it's something. Meanwhile, while that's happening, then the Sun starts doing the same thing. It's like that row, row, row your boat round. And now the Sun is like, yeah, now I'm doing it. So as you moved on like 2 days before Mercury, now I'm here. And it's like the Sun is like, hi, I'm opposing Saturn. So the Sun, like life, purpose, will, you know, your goals going forward. Saturn, wall, problem, red tape, figure it out. You know, responsibility. Is this really the right way? Are you really ready to do this? Are you prepared? What do you need to do to go forward? Because maybe you overlooked something. And then like, as the Sun moves on, he's like, okay, that was weird. I have a lot to think about here. Then it moves and hits the square with Uranus. I think that's coming up on Friday, tomorrow. So square with Uranus, Sun, life, purpose, what I want to do, the way I'm going to hold the entire container of like the purpose going forward, the plot line, hitting Uranus in that square. Uranus is like, yeah, but what if it was done this way, but have this breakthrough? What if you had a breakdown? What if you just said, don't do it at all? What if you just threw the whole thing out the window? And it's like, again, that same energy and the same vibe, but this time it's like with the whole purpose and with the whole plan. And it's like, wait a minute, we're okay. That's why it starts spinning in this kind of madness thing where of like the round, like a bunch of kids at a camp singing a round of row, row, row your boat or whatever, where you're just like, oh my God. Okay, so that is happening all this week. And we're like, okay, we're coming up to finishing this up. And you'll probably start seeing, especially when I go into where this all is happening for you, the realm of life where this is happening for you, because it's just getting kicked up again and again. You're like, and that, and I want to do this, but, and then that. And it's like, again, highlighting these places in your life. And we'll get into that at the end when I go through all the signs. So then to wrap that up, okay, so everyone's going through the rigors of the Saturn-Uranus square, great. Mercury went through it, now Sun right on his heels coming through it. Then we're getting the new moon on Sunday, the 8th, and the same thing, I think Saturday, the moon, before it actually makes the new moon position, the moon will be in Leo, and it's, hi, I'm opposing Saturn. So again, now it's emotional, and your sense of, oh God, I'm almost not looking forward to that, I'm going to be honest. I don't like moon things with Saturn. I have some of that in my chart, and it's not fun. I have a very tight trine, which even a trine isn't, break out the champagne. It's purposeful, it's useful, it's constructive, but it's not exactly like relaxing. It's it's something else. But the moon having this opposition is sort of like now your emotions, or your sense of being safe, your sense of having, something to give to others, of nurturing, of the moon is your mood of where you're at emotionally, so now it's going through that place of, I have to look at Saturn and look at what I'm dealing with, and look at what I have maybe overlooked, what I need, what responsibilities are still sitting here. And then move into Sunday, and we get right before the new moon. I think it's like hours before, maybe 2 hours before the new moon, before before it's the new moon of Leo, starting a whole new cycle off. The moon will have a moment squaring Uranus, like everything else has this whole week. So again, it's like, yeah, but look at this breakthrough. But did you imagine this? But what about that? Maybe you'll just have a breakdown and say, you know what? I don't even care anymore. I really don't. It's just like a release. So this new moon is a time of, yes, you're planting seeds. Yes, we're starting over again. And it's kind of like bringing the pendulum ball up and dropping it, and having it start to swing it down and like gather momentum to bring forward all the way to that full moon position, where it's like, and now it's kind of come to this, and then it starts waning back down. So it's like planting the seed, seeing it grow, full moon, full growth, or potential, and then it sort of wanes down, if you're thinking of it in the sense of a plant cycle. Okay, so this moon isn't exactly kick up your heels, have a pleasant time. It is pleasant, and a moon Uranus is cool. Lots of new stuff can happen. Lots of Uranus is definitely new, things that are surprising, unexpected, breakdowns, breakthroughs. So that's not bad. It's just not exactly I'm going to a spa all weekend, and it's going to just be like I'm lost in this underworld, dream love world. It's more there's more there. It's like more happening, more movement. So that is basically the overview of what is happening. So when we're talking about the new moon, yes, plant your seeds, your intentions, but just remember that this new moon is highly tied into, just like what we've seen this whole week, all of this stuff, that conundrum of Saturn Uranus that's going to be with us this year and into next. So what does this mean for you? So it is, wow, I've talked for 23 minutes. That's way too long. But let's see if we can do this and wrap it up in another 10 minutes for these. So now I'm going to go through each sign, and I would say listen for your rising sign, but if you want to listen to your sun or moon sign, that's completely up to you. So we're going to start with Leo, since we're here at the Leo new moon. So the new moon on Sunday the 8th. What does this mean for you as a Leo? Leo rising? Leo rising, this is in your first house of self. Your first house is your place, the place that you are completely, this is more you than any other place in the chart. It's not your work, it's not your spouse, it is absolutely you. Your identity, your appearance, your body, how you think about yourself, and how you put yourself out into the world. So a new moon there, especially with all this Uranus energy of newness and surprise and churning up the possibility kind of element. This is very much like, maybe you'll surprise yourself. Maybe you'll say, you know what, I'm just doing it this way now and I have to, or like, I can't hold back anymore. It's just, I'm having this urge to just, it's a reinventive kind of breath of fresh air, and that's good. It's just, it is in that opposition still with the Saturn stuff and Jupiter. Jupiter just moved in, because remember from last time I talked about Jupiter moving backward, and Jupiter has now just come back in to sort of help Saturn out. So the new moon in your first is great. It's all about yourself, your body, your appearance, your sense of yourself moving forward, and what you need to supply for yourself. It's like perfectly fine and not just needed, but it's applauded to do. It's like you need to, think about yourself at this time, and really think about your needs going forward, because that Saturn and Jupiter is helping, but Saturn is in the 7th house, being kind of a roadblock in your area of spouse or its partner. It could be a romantic partner, or it could be a business partner, or it could be 7th house could also be, if you don't have anyone in your life that falls under that, it could be an opponent of some type, like a one-on-one opponent, like you, this is you, 1st house. 7th house could be the person you're suing or something. It's not a group though. It's like your business partner, your romance partner, or partner in a war of some type like that. Maybe even a sporting kind of, 1st, 7th can be like, if you're playing tennis against one other person, it's like that person. Okay, so there's a Saturn issue sitting there as a roadblock in your 7th house of partnerships. Jupiter is there helping the best he can, and that's great. And we're probably going to see a lot more help in that realm for you guys until about New Year's of this, end of December, when Jupiter moves out of that space. But he's there doing the best he can to bring in some options. The Uranus feeling of just like blowing it all out of the water and just throwing it all out of the window and having this breakthrough is coming from your 10th of career or of public standing. So it's like something there is pushing you forward to be like, I just really want to do this, and I don't want to deal with this roadblock in the area of the relationship, the area of the career or public standing is really under all of this good stress, but bad stress to change. Like, I need to change this now. So that is what you're feeling, and this new moon in your first will probably really highlight like what you're feeling personally with regards to that. Okay, so now I am moving on to Virgo. So the Virgo rising, yes, so Virgo rising or Virgo sun, Virgo moon. Virgo rising, this Leo new moon is in your 12th. In the 12th, that means that is a place of the deep crevices of your mind that you don't really let out for anyone to see, because there's not really any reason for that stuff to be out in the waking world. It's more like, I warehouse these memories away, or these feelings, or there's something I don't really know what to do with this over here. But eventually you're going to have to do that work to unearth the 12th house stuff and just say, why am I afraid of this? What am I worried about? Why have I warehoused this stuff over here? It could have to do with mental health, or psychological, deep psychological underpinnings of why you do things, and how you tear yourself down, like in your mind, how you're thinking, oh, that was stupid, why did I do that? And it's like, you would never say that to another person out in the world, but the way we talk to ourselves inwardly, that voice, it's like, wow, that was harsh. I would never say that to someone, but we talk like that to ourselves all the time. That's kind of the 12th house. So when we're looking at the 12th house and new moon there, it can be a chance to just say, okay, this is a time to, start up a new plan, start a new pattern, start a new project here. What are we going to do to, there's an infusing of some energy and light coming in here to start a whole new series of events. And it's really the ball is in your court. What you've probably been feeling this whole week and the past whole month, let's be honest, the Leo energy there has been opposing the Saturn energy in your 6th house. And Jupiter has recently moved back into that 6th house too, to say, hey, I want to help and let's like look at some options. But that 6th house where Saturn has been sitting is definitely it's the place of health, of healing, could be of illness. It could be of hard work or things that you have to do in the world that don't exactly have to do with your job, but it's like service of some type to the world. It also could deal with small animals, pets, maybe people who work under you in some capacity. But Saturn sitting there is like, get real, be serious, take on this responsibility. There's a roadblock, there's an issue. Okay. But thankfully, Jupiter has just regressed into that place also to be like, hey, wait, we have these options. Let's look at this. And that's going to really help you moving forward, as Jupiter will be there until the end of this year. Until about New Year's. So that will be a helping hand of like, let's figure this out. It's going to be okay. You know, we got work to do, but it doesn't mean there's not other options. So that is probably the pull that you're feeling with that health, physical health, maybe hard work, service having to be done in the world, maybe thankless service. And then this Leo energy, in the 12th of more mental, psychological, deep, personal, psychological situations happening there. The Uranus energy of breaking everything and just saying, I'm going to throw it out the window. I'm going to just, give up. Or, this came in and now I have this whole new way of seeing stuff. That's in your 9th, and that's in your place of beliefs. So you're having this like kind of revolution in your 9th of belief system, maybe religion or spirituality, possibly higher learning, gurus, some way that you see the world is changing and wants to change. And this is what you're balancing here. So I feel like this new moon is going to highlight and give a chance to maybe plant a new seed, start a whole new project, start something going forward that's going to help that whole area. So this is good. Okay, so now we are going on to Libra. So this is Libra rising or sun or moon. Okay, so the Leo new moon is in your 11th house. So that's your house of friends, groups, alliances. It could be like social scenes or social media groups that, like people, if you belong to a bunch of people who sail or a bunch of people who are animal rights people, that's the 11th house. So Leo new moon there, I would say this is a time that you're trying to, plant the seeds, start something new that would be involving that house, those friends, groups, alliances. Somehow you can put yourself in there being, if you could shine in some way, like Leo wants to shine, it's the individual. And we're having this new moon, like planting a seed kind of moment. However, all of this is opposing the Saturn stuff in Aquarius in your 5th. Jupiter is also there to say, hey, I'm giving a helping hand, and you have all these options, and that's happening until the end of the year around New Year's. So Jupiter is helping there, and it's like, yeah, we have work to do, but it's all going to be good. We've got these options. That 5th house, though, has been brought down because Saturn's been sitting there. So it's like the 5th is the place of fun, creativity, what you do for pleasure, recreation. It could be romance, sex, also things to do with children. And that has been heavier, getting a helping hand from Jupiter, yes. But, a new moon in your 11th opposing that 5th is kind of also the 11th is like who consumes what you create. So if you're a creator of some type or a musician or artist, writer, whatever, the stuff in the 5th that might feel bogged down is, I understand that. I'm a Libra rising. It's like, things kind of feeling blocked. Why can't I go forward? This new moon in your 11th could show you the strength of what you do have in the groups or the alliances, the scenes that you belong to, somewhere there that you can press a reset button and have like a moment of, let's start a new project. Let's, have a new outlook here going forward. And we're going to start a whole new cycle. The area of tension of wanting to change is the Uranus Taurus in your 8th. Your 8th is usually thought of as spouses, income, money, assets of money from other people. That might make its way to you, power or power dynamics with other people. It's very much about debts that might not be financial. They could be like, you kind of owe me this and I kind of owe you this. But usually it does have to do with someone else's money, taxes, wills, inheritances, something like that. Not always, but mostly. So that area is also being kind of kicked into the whole conundrum of just like, yeah, there's this situation, there's this thing that wants to completely have a revolution in this 8th house of other people's money or assets. So I feel like this is a new moon of, taking what you can from that place of groups, friends, alliances, and applying it to this situation, moving forward. Okay, so we're moving right along and we're going to Scorpio rising or sun, moon. So Scorpio rising, this is a fixed sign again. So these are big places that it's hitting for you. So the Leo stuff, the Leo new moon is going to be in your 10th house of career and public standing. It's how the world sees you outside of your home, okay? So that is a place of, wow, we can take a time to reset, restart, have a new project come in, new energy coming in, starting something up. It is, though, opposing that Saturn Aquarius in the 4th of home, living situation, ancestry, roots, family. Jupiter is there giving a helping hand because Jupiter just moved into that same place with Saturn and will be there until the end of this year, like New Year's. So that is good. And Jupiter is like, we have options. We can fix this and look at all of these other things happening. Jupiter's giving a helping hand, but Saturn is still very much weighing down that area, saying there's a responsibility here and a roadblock of some type in that family home area. And then the area of wanting to break free and wanting to just say, I'm going to do this, screw everyone. That energy is coming from your 7th. That's your place of partnership, one-on-one partner. So that is a place of romantic partner, business partner. It could be, if you don't have any of those, something to do with someone you're battling, like a court case, like a person you're suing, or if you're on a court, like, the 7th house person is like the opponent in a tennis match or something. It's always a one person kind of thing. It's not a group. So that 7th house is wanting to break free and change, have a revolution, and it's your place of relationship with the other person. So I would see this new moon in Leo in your 10th as a time of like, I want to shine. I want to do something different here where I'm going to plant this seed in my place of career, of public standing, of how people see me. And it's, it's like taking on, just pressing a reset button basically for, that area and how it will interconnect with the conundrum that we're dealing with the other areas that are going to continue for the rest of the year. Okay, so that is what I have there. We are moving on to Sagittarius. So Sagittarius rising or sun or moon. Sagittarius, the Leo new moon is in your 9th. So this is a place of beliefs, your belief system, how you see the world. It can also have to do with religion, spirituality, higher learning, gurus, something to do with a big picture kind of thing. And so that's a reset button right there of like, let's plant some new seeds right there. You have been dealing with this conundrum of Saturn in your 3rd, roadblocks and heaviness and responsibility, dealing with siblings, neighbors, or day-to-day life, living mundane stuff that you do on your everyday route of your everyday doings out in the world. So Saturn has been kind of a problem there, giving you a lot of like stress and blockage. But thankfully, Jupiter recently has moved into that area also, just saying, hey, we have options. There's a whole new way of looking at things over here. And that's good. Jupiter will be there until the end of the year. When he finally moves out around the right around New Year's. So that's really good. We're going to have Jupiter lending a helping hand for the rest of this year in that third house of siblings, neighbors, also people who, if you don't have siblings, very best friends of yours. If you have a best friend who is like a sibling to you, that person would fall under this house too. So where the area is that you want to break free and have this revolution is your sixth house. And the sixth house is a place of healing, health. It could be illness. It could also be hard work and just arduous labor that you do in service to something, not necessarily your job. It could just be like, I feel the duty to do this over here. It could also do with small animals and maybe people who work under you, but it's usually health, healing, and maybe hard work, energy put into something that might be a thankless service. So that is the area that is just changing, revolution, change everything, breakthrough. So the new moon for you in your ninth place, like we said, of your spiritual, possibly religious, possibly like higher overview of how you see the world, your belief system, the higher learning, education, that can be starting like a reset button, like pressing reset. Let's start a whole new project and a whole new idea with this conundrum that we're going to be working with for the rest of the year with those other areas that I mentioned. Okay, so now we are on to Capricorn. So Capricorn rising or moon or sun. The Leo new moon is in your eighth. And so this is like a reset or a time of, coming up with like planting new seeds in the eighth of other people's money, spouse's money, or money that comes to you through taxes or inheritances or wills. It can also just deal with power dynamics or a sense of debt, owing something to someone, a deep debt that is more than money. You know what I mean? So the eighth is kind of like someone owing you something or you owing someone something. But usually, by and large, it has to do with other people's money. So money that could come to you through a spouse or taxes or through whatever, the government, I don't know, something like that. So that is the area where it's kind of having this reset or like, let's look at this and plant some new seeds. The problem area has been the second house of your finances, your assets, your money, where Saturn has been sitting kind of creating a wall, a blockage, red tape, or heavy responsibility where you're saying, it's just a time of tightening the belt or of not having what you want flowing there. However, Jupiter has come into that area because Jupiter regressed in last week, I think. So Jupiter is like, hey, we have options. Here's a helping hand. This is really great. Thank you, Jupiter. And Jupiter will be there until end of the year. And you should probably, I would imagine, see a lot of beneficial flow coming in since Jupiter went into that second house. Because Jupiter back into the second can always be great. You can always be good. We want that. We want Jupiter giving us options and possibilities in our second house of money and assets. The other area that is like, I want to break free and revolution, that is your fifth house. Fifth house of, yes, that is your fifth house of, I want to, experience pleasure, recreation, what I do for fun, possibly romance, possibly sex, or things to do with children. That area is like, I want to liberate here. I want to change everything. I want to break through the whole thing and have this breakdown, a revolution. So I feel that like the eighth house, other people's money kind of stuff, having a new moon there is like a reset button there that will affect and probably have some reverberation with those two other areas that I just mentioned, like your money and assets, and then your sense of, I want to do something fun. I want to have fun. So hopefully this can, heal something there moving forward. Okay, so we are moving on to Aquarius rising or moon or sun. So Aquarius rising, the Leo new moon is in your 7th. Again, we're back at the fixed signs. This is the big stuff. Like, not that the other signs aren't big, but like these are the angles that take on heavier importance sometimes. So this Leo new moon in your 7th house of relations, one-on-one partnerships, either a romance or a business partner, or it could be a one-on-one thing if you're suing someone or something like that, or a court game, you're battling a tennis opponent. It's just a one-on-one thing though. So mostly it's a partner of some type, romantic or business. So the new moon there is like a reset button. This is great. Let's have something new. Let's have something where we want to shine there and enjoy some kind of reset. We can plant new seeds. It is opposing the area of, you know, the Saturn stuff and also Jupiter in your 1st. And Saturn has been in your 1st for a while and will continue to be reforming who you are. It's like a reformation of, or a taskmaster, like you are becoming a different person right now. You are like, your identity has changed. It is changing. It's like in a metamorphosis state where you're like doing the work, and eventually you will come out on the other side like as this other person, or like a huge addition will be added onto the house, let's just say. And Jupiter, and that's heavy and hard sometimes to do that, you know, but Jupiter has just moved into that area too, to give a helping hand and more options. And that is great. We want that. And Jupiter will be there until the end of this year. So this is like, okay, thank God, like Jupiter is helping, bringing in some levity and saying, you know, the identity restructure that you're undergoing, it doesn't have to be so grindstone. It can be kind of fun, or we can throw in some options. You have these other possibilities, and you probably already started feeling that since last week. And then the revolution area is this area of feeling I want to break out of everything or change, coming from your home, family, living situation area where it's just like everything is changing, or I want to change everything. So the new moon in your area of partnership is probably a great time to just have a new start, a fresh start, planting seeds, and bringing in, you know, something new into that area that could help benefit this conundrum area that we just talked about that has been kind of locking horns for this year and will continue into next year. So this is like a, you know, a good fresh start in that area that you could possibly see. So we are moving on to Pisces. So the Pisces rising or Pisces sun or moon, the Leo new moon is happening in your 6th house of health, healing. It could be illness, but it could also just be service, hard work, selfless work that you do, not necessarily for your job. It's just it's thankless work that you do in service to something. It could also be small pets, like, pets and people who work under you. So something starting new there, a new moon, Leo new moon, how can I put in my energy of my individualism here and start something new? It is opposing the Saturn stuff in your 12th house of, it could maybe just be mental health, but let's call it psychological underpinnings and things like the voice in your head that says like, why did you do that? You know, that was stupid. And it's like, you would never say that to anyone, but you allow that voice in your head to say that. That's like the 12th house. It's like why did you warehouse these things, feelings, emotions over here? You don't really need to bring them out into the light of the day. They live in the 12th. But at times when things are happening in your 12th, as they are right now, because you're having this Saturn transit through the 12th, and it will continue into next year, you might have to go in and look through it and sort through it and say, okay, what is going on? And Saturn has been like putting you to task there, asking you to do that. It's not exactly fun. Jupiter has moved into that area too, to be like, okay, but look, we have options. And that is good. We want that. Jupiter has moved in last week, is going to be there until the end of the month, the end of the year in that place. So by the time we hit New Year's, he will be on to something else. But we've got all this time where Jupiter is there helping and saying like, look, we have options, and let's like look at another possibility here. The Uranus stuff of changing, revolution, throwing everything out the window, just I want change, is happening in your third of your siblings, neighbors, things that go on in your neighborhood or your daily life. Also communications, basic communications. It can have, if you don't have siblings, it can show up as people in your life who are like brothers or sisters, but they're not blood related. That is also that third house. So something is changing there a lot, or wants to change. And, you know, it's coming up against that wall in the 12th of your mental, internal situation that's happening there. And so the Leo new moon stuff coming through in your 6 is kind of like, this is a time to press reset and possibly infuse both of those areas with an option, with opportunities of growth and planting a seed for something new there, especially to do with your individual sense of, you know, how you can shine, what you can do to perform something here that would help those areas moving forward. So we are on to Aries. So Aries, rising or sun or moon. The Leo new moon is happening in your 5th. So this is a place of, I want to reset. I want to, you know, let's plant new seeds here in your 5th house of recreation, fun, pleasure, possibly romance or sex, and possibly children. So like for you wanting to start something new there and have this individualistic rush of energy coming in, that is great. That sounds great. A new phase coming in to, you know, plant new seeds, start a new project in that, or a new maybe romance or something in that area. There is the opposition though that is happening to Saturn, who has been sitting in your 11th for like a long time, all of this year, and will be here the rest of this year and then into next. And Saturn is putting things to task and putting responsibility and limitations on friends, groups, alliances, or scenes that you belong to. So it's kind of locking that down. And then Jupiter has recently gone into that area to give it a helping hand, and that's always good. We want that. Jupiter coming in, thank God, and it's going to be there helping until the end of the year around New Year's. So that is good. It's going to be showing you more options in that area of friends, groups, scene kind of stuff. Uranus is where we want to blow everything out of the water and want to have this revolution. And that is your 2nd house of finances, of your assets, your earned income, the stuff you own. So here, you know, you're wanting to, or having a revolution of, this is, you know, how do I earn this income, or, you know, what do I believe in it that I have earned? It's like a kind of new revolutionizing that area for you. So I feel like this new moon in Leo in your 5th, in the place of fun and recreation, can be a place to start something new, set a plant a new seed, and have this energy start off on a new project, a new something there that will hopefully benefit those 2 other areas that I talked about, because they're so intertwined. And this is a chance here to, you know, give some kind of, you know, good energy to both of those areas. But, you know, there will be some strife because of the opposition and the square, you know, Saturn, the roadblock, Uranus, the let's, you know, break everything down kind of energy. So that is Aries, and we're going to move on to Taurus rising, or Taurus sun or moon. So the Leo new moon is happening in your 4th. So we're again back to the fixed signs here, where these tent poles of life are kind of bigger themes. for you. So the Leo energy, the Leo new moon, where you want to start something, plant a new seed, is happening in your 4th house, home, family, living situation, ancestry. Okay, so we want to start something new. We want to just like, you know, plant those seeds and do something that's going to bring in your energy of your individualistic, you know, an idea that is, you know, planting to at some point harvest. This is the time for that there. It is having the opposition still, though, with Saturn in your 10th. That's your place of career, public standing, how people see you on the outside of your home, like, you know, how people think of you as. That is an area that has been stressed and has felt limited or held back. There's red tape or some kind of heaviness or responsibility happening there, where you've maybe, obviously, you felt blocked in some way. Jupiter has just moved in there, where it is helping out and giving that helping hand for the rest of the year until about New Year's. And that's good. We definitely want that, because, you know, it's just only showing a little bit more options, a little bit more positivity here. Something can happen here that maybe you overlooked before in that realm. And, you know, when we're thinking about this new moon in Leo for you in your place of home, family, starting off something new about home, about family, it is triggering that place in the 10th of career. What is happening there? Lots of stress. You know, Jupiter helping, but lots of stress. And then it's also hitting that the area of Uranus, which is your 1st house. First house, where you know, there wants to be a revolution, or there is a revolution happening right now of yourself, of your identity, how you see yourself in the world, how you put yourself out in the world, but your appearance and your body also. So this is a very personal revolution happening here. You're having a personal revolution in the 1st of, this is who I am now. The Leo new moon is planting seeds and giving you an opportunity to maybe start something new, going in the 4th, in the area of the home and family, still though kind of battling the energies in the 10th of the career, which is going to continue being a heavier or more responsibility laden place. So hopefully the Leo new moon in your place of home and family can plant the seeds and do something to start a new pattern with this conundrum that we're going to be working with for the rest of the year into next year. It's just kind of like another way of turning the glass or the crystal around and saying, oh, okay, well, what about this coming from the 4th home family? Okay, so we are moving on, and we're going to Gemini. So Gemini rising or Gemini sun moon. The new moon in Leo is happening in your 3rd house. That's the place of siblings, neighbors, your neighborhood, daily communications, or daily things that you do in life. It could also deal with people who are not blood related, but you think of them as brothers or sisters. That's what would fall under the 3rd. So this is a place to plant seeds, start something new, reset something here with this new moon. That's great. Just like everyone else, though, it is facing the opposition from the Saturn stuff, in the 9th. And the 9th is your belief system, spirituality, religion, your overview of how you see the world. It can have to do with gurus or people, teachers, higher learning, something like that. And it has been in a feeling of lockdown or blockage or red tape or responsibility. Jupiter has moved into that area, though, giving you like a lot more leeway and a lot more options, and will remain there for the rest of this year into basically New Year's, like around New Year's Eve he gets out. But that's a good chunk of time here that we have Jupiter helping that area of saying you have some options, like let's just look at it in a different way. Let's bring in something more here that you possibly overlooked. The area that wants to revolutionize, that is revolutionizing, whether you like it or not, is the area of the 12th. And the 12th is like your psyche, your psychological underpinnings, that deep part of your mind that you don't even know really why it's there or how it's even there. It's not something that you it's not something that you want to have out in the world. It's something that we're highlighting, or sorry, something that we're hiding and kind of warehousing in that 12th. It's like a basement or something, or an attic, where you're like, I don't, this doesn't have to be out in the waking world. This is like the voice that you have when you're like telling yourself, oh, that was stupid, why did I say that, or something. That's like your own self undoing, coming from the 12th. It can also just do with mental health, or taking time away from the world to, be alone. That's that 12th house that really is having this revolution right now. So, it's a revolution of your psyche, basically, taking place in the 12th. All of, this conundrum, the Saturn lockdown feeling of what I talked about, and then this revolutionizing everything feeling, that's going to continue this year into next year for everyone, no matter where it falls in your chart. You've got it somewhere. But this Leo new moon energy in your third of siblings, neighborhood, neighbors, could have a moment of, look, we can start this new, we can set a reset button and have something, planting seeds here to give us another chance moving forward, because we do have this chance. We have, a new moon in a fixed sign that has a lot of energy behind it, by this sun giving it all of its juice, and like giving you a chance to start something new that could trickle down and affect that conundrum area that we just talked about. So that is what we have here, and we are going forward to crab rising, Cancer rising, or sun or moon. So you have the Leo new moon in your second. So that's like a place, that's your place of assets, your money, your income, your things you value, possessions. In the second, a new moon is like a chance to start new, a chance of a new project, or a new, maybe a new way of, like, it's in Leo, a new way of having your identity, or your individualism come through to, start something, setting down roots and setting down putting down seeds in that area of your second house of finances. It will be butting heads with the Saturn stuff. So that's in your 8th of other people's money, spouse's money. It could also be with money from the government, taxes, inheritances, wills. It could also have something to do with debts owed to us, or debts that you might owe to someone, not necessarily financial, but something bigger than that, where you're like a power play of some kind of dynamic like that. So that is happening there. Saturn has been locking that down, bringing in this sense of responsibility, or roadblocks, or red tape kind of into that 8th house of other people's money, or debts. And there's no way of escaping that for anyone. I mean, the Saturn-Uranus is going to be somewhere for everyone. So that is your 8th house. Maybe you've already seen that kind of being kicked up in themes that have happened all of July. And the Uranus energy of wanting to revolutionize, just throw everything out the window, say, I'm going this way, screw you. That is happening in your friends, groups, and alliances area. So that could also mean social media, people that you relate to, in whatever way, like people that you're bonded with because you all do a certain hobby, or you play on a sports team with people, or whatever it is. It's just a group of people that is changing, and that is revolutionizing and wants to revolutionize. I don't know in what way, but you probably know in what way. And that whole conundrum of wanting to revolutionize that area, and then the lockdown feeling in your spouse, other people's money area. Oh, I forgot to mention Jupiter. Did I mention this? I'll say it again. Jupiter has moved into that spouse, other people's money area too last week, and it will be there. He will be there until the end of this year, right around New Year's. So that is a good thing. We want Jupiter somewhere doing his best to show you options, other ideas, other doors, possibilities. We need that. So that is good with that, but you're still dealing with that Saturn Uranus like push-pull conundrum. And the Leo new moon in your second of assets money could be great for assets money, a new way of doing things, planting that seed going forward, but it still is kind of highlighting the energy that of that big conundrum that we just talked about. And this is a special time because, you know, like I said in the overview, we're not going to have another moment to really get in and really plug into this Saturn Uranus situation. This is a big moment to plug into it. The full moon at the end of the month, there will be something there, but we're talking about this new moon in Leo getting all juiced up by this beautiful sun in Leo. You know, this is a good time to try to start a new pattern, a new project, a new way of life, like having to do with that second house of assets and earned income. But keep in mind, it will run into the problems with the other people's money, power plays, debts, and then also the locking horns kind of energy of the friends groups and alliances of the 11th. So yeah, that is what I have for everyone here, and I just can't even believe that was so long. But I'm going to drink water now, and I'm going to leave you with this, and I will be back next week with more, because there's a lot more happening. We've got some other stuff on the horizon, of course, but I just wanted to stop in and give you all this because I felt the need to update everyone. So I will be back next week with more, and then with readings. I do astrology readings. I need to get better with saying this. Well, yeah, I'll say it now, even though probably no one's even listening at this point because it's only crab rising. But no, we're going to leave it there. We're just going to leave it there, and I'll put the information in the description below for the readings. They are happening. They will be listed, and that is what I have. Okay, thank you.